Okay, getting YouTube up. Let me just put this link in the comments. All right, we are back live on YouTube here. Bear with me. I'm just going to make sure that our Facebook followers have the right or the right link here. All right. So let's restart this thing here. I'm sorry for the delay, and for any of you who are watching us on Facebook. Basically what we'll do here is we'll share this link on Facebook, and then we will upload this video to Facebook as well, so that our Facebook users have a little bit easier of a time getting access to the video. So check your YouTube account. No problem. One second here. A little bit of an echo. Okay. All right. So anyway, Sharon me here today. Sharon is a member of World Equestrian Brands team. We are really proud to partner with World Equestrian Brands this week during Eventing Nation's virtual vendor village. So without further ado, let's talk to Sharon. Third time's a charm. And if we left off before talking a little bit about how your program has had to adjust a little bit to the virus quarantine, and with the shows being canceled, you know, how does that feel for somebody who has a top horse and who has students at the top level with very busy competition schedules normally at this time of year?
Well, we're trying very hard to not be too down about it, because there's nothing we can do about it, right? So we're using this time as an opportunity to work on the things, like, you know, like you're never quite ready for your competition, so now we have the time to be perfectly ready. So all of those things that you need to work on, right, is, you know, can you canter down the center line and halt square each and every time? Can you you know, can you keep a line no matter what you're doing when you're jumping? Can you know, whoa and go is needed. So we're just really fine tuning all of those things that, you know, that when you're competing, you know, you go with what you have. So you really need to, I think everyone really needs to take advantage of the fact that there is time, right? Because during, we all say, God, if only I had a little more time. Well, if you're not really using the time you now have to do all of those things that you always said, if only I had time, then you're missing out. So we're, you know, very meticulous about and very specific about what we're doing. The only thing we've taken out is there's no more galloping or conditioning, right? Unless you're, you know, trying to teach a young horse how to gallop better or whatnot, then you don't need to do the wear and tear right now. You can do more core work with your horses, you know, do your dressage, do your jumping, right? Go hacking, but you don't have to pound them. So.
Definitely. You know, and one I have always heard say, I'm really in that concept, because as you have more time to work on those details right now, that's something that you can really kind of get in touch with, is that concept. And I also love how World Equestrian Brands, their products are so high quality, and they're made to work in harmony with your horse, not add anything and not take anything away. And I think that really goes hand in hand with that concept. Can you just explain what you mean when you say the horse goes the way it's ridden?
Absolutely. It means every detail matters, right? Like every detail matters. And that, like you just said, that is where World Equestrian Brands is like thinks exactly the same, right? Every detail matters. Can you, you know, do you have a bridle that fits correctly, and can you put it on correctly? Does your horse accept the, you know, that you can touch a head? Can they, you know, do they lower their heads with a little pole pressure? Do they, you know, these fine details, right? And then with the bridle, does, you know, does the Is the pole piece soft? Is the brow band big enough, right? Is it not pulling where it needs to pull? Are the buckles even on each side? Is the nose band fit exactly where you want it to fit, right? Is it, is the bit the correct size? Does it lay in the correct place? Do you know how to put a bridle on without smacking your horse's teeth with it, right? Do you know how to take a bridle off without smacking your horse's teeth with it? Does your saddle fit well, right? Are the pads appropriate? Is it even, right? That's, those are all the things that actually horses, they feel like they feel and they know. And approach your horse in the beginning, from when you go get them from the stall, how you tack them up, how you lead them out, how you then get on, and then what they do. It all matters to a horse. They're going to tell you exactly what you've done or not done, right? Because they're either going to go well or they're not going to go well. They're going to understand or they're not going to understand. Horses are very literal creatures, right? They're really earnest and wonderful. So if you pay attention to these details, and I like to approach it as they really are always trying to do the right thing, not the wrong thing, as long as you are clear about that. And in that same vein, you can also spoil them a little too much. You don't want to do that either. I have definitely my lifetime.
Yep.
Right? And if you spoil them wrong, they rotten. So it's this wonderful relationship, right? They go the way you deal with them, right? So deal with them as you want them to be. Do you want them to be competitors? Do you want them to be pets? Like, you decide. And each horse, like us, we're all little individual, right? We all like to be dealt with a certain way. And if you can really, find what that is, right, then you're set, right? Like,
absolutely.
That's what's so special about the relationship.
And treating every horse like an individual too. I think that's something that, many of us as riders that are amateurs that maybe have one, maybe two horses, that's something that we have the ability to do. But you probably have all sorts of horses in your program at any given time. So how do you juggle that? And when it comes to equipment too, speaking more specifically, obviously every horse is a little different with the tack setup. So can you go through a little bit of your process of getting each horse set up on its own program?
Be willing to play, right? Like, for sure. Like, I do, even though, yes, we have a lot of horses, they all are individuals. And if you take the time to treat them as individuals, you will be rewarded, right? Like, for sure. Meaning, if you appropriate tack for all of them and what they like and what they don't like, it will come back in spades at the end for how they go for you and how they perform for you. And if you don't have time or the interest to take care of each and every horse, then you have too many horses, right? Like, as far as I'm concerned, I would much rather do them real well and pay attention and that than to just have too many that you can't actually pay attention to them, right? That matters to me personally. It makes me feel much better when I know I have the appropriate bridle that fits for, the 4-year-old or the 3-year-old you're just breaking. It's just as important, right? Because you can teach a horse anything, and what they learn as young horses, it matters, right? Because that is what they're going to remember as their older horses, right? And your older horses change as they get stronger. They change. You have to pay attention to their type, their musculature. You have to make sure that you stay on top of those things, right? And that's where again, appropriate tack that fits quality. Like, quality really matters. It's no different than the quality of how you handle them.
Absolutely. And, I think that's such an important thing that, when we are so busy and we are rushing from show to show and we're training, I think that is something that, not to anybody's fault necessarily. I think that's something that's easy to kind of get away from a little bit because we feel so much pressure and so much pressure to perform and compete and do all these things. So again, another way to kind of take advantage of this extra time that we have right now, right, is to really make sure that your program is suitable for your horse.
Absolutely, right? Like, and again, it is the perfect opportunity to do that. And then the hard part is going to just be to remember,
right,
to stick to, keep paying attention when we go back to being as busy as we were before, which we all will, right? Like, that's
exactly
that everybody likes to do, right? Like, everybody likes to be super busy and feel productive and all of those things. And that is important. That's, a part of why you certainly wouldn't event if you weren't that type of person.
Exactly. It takes a special type of person.
Yeah,
and that is one of the criteria.
All right. somewhat anal retentive and type A and
Exactly.
really want hard, right? Otherwise you would
Yep.
choose a different sport, or you probably
Totally.
wouldn't, right? Or you certainly wouldn't have a horse, right? Like
Yeah.
horses are like active. So I feel really confident in speaking to everyone out there, because if you're watching this, then you're that person, right? That wants
Yep.
the best for you. You're a competitor. So then all of these things matter. So use this time, but then try not to forget when we all get busy again.
Yeah, exactly.
You
That'll
know,
be the
that
biggest challenge for sure.
and it's so easy, right? You get so busy, right? And there's
Hmm.
so much to do when you're eventing and traveling and all of those things. And so just to that realization, I think is this is a really interesting period of history and time when you can, like, that is going to happen, right?
Right.
So
Yeah, exactly. I want to talk a little bit more in detail about World Equestrian Brands because they've been such a great supporter of Eventing Nation, but more importantly, they've been such a great supporter of you and so many other riders for so many years. And I just find that to be so interesting. Can you tell me a little bit about why World Equestrian Brands has been so impactful for you?
I just the products and the people behind the products are
Sure.
amazing, right? Like true horsemen, true horse people, like the details matter. The quality is, you're just not going to find better quality, right? And people who care about horses, right? And
Hmm.
and they, like, I every day I am interested in learning more. You'll never know everything there is to know about horses, right?
Sure.
And I feel that they are exactly the same with the equipment, right? Like every year it gets a bit better. Well, hopefully every year I get a bit better, right? That's the goal.
Yep.
I think
Yep.
everybody's goal, right, is that, there's forward progress and you might learn a little bit more. Well, they every year there's a bridle that's a little bit better, and that is just things you never even think about, like the ergonomics of it and whatnot. That's, as a rider, you don't actually have time. That's not your expertise, right? So there's only, again, there's only so much time in a day, right?
Right.
So I think if you're going to do something really well, you can do one thing really well. So I choose that to be my riding and my horsemanship. So I leave I never worry about my tack. I
Yeah.
absolutely don't give it a second thought, because I know that the people who are thinking about it are just like me when I'm thinking about my horses. That's all they think about,
Yep.
right? Like,
Yep.
and that everything, right? Like just the passion and the interest to have everything be better for your horse, like that
Yep.
I don't have to worry about, is like that is there's nothing better than knowing that
Absolutely.
someone more educated than you is actually taking care of things for you.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and
Like you.
Kim Severson brought up a great point yesterday during our saddle fitting question and answer session, which if you guys haven't checked that out yet, be sure to go on eventingnation.com and watch that 'cause very informative. But one thing Kim said was, though, I don't want to be thinking about my saddle when cantering. I don't want to be thinking about saddles putting me. I don't want to be worried about it, and that's where these products come into play because they are made to fit your horse and you so well that they're not interfering and not changing anything, so you don't even think about it.
I agree 100%. Like if I ever notice my tack or my saddle, it's a problem. And
Hmm.
that is the thing. Like I never notice my tack, right? Like
Yep.
meaning it's priceless to me that my saddles put me in a good balance, and they put my horse in a good balance, and I can call Robin up at any point in time and ask her
Hmm.
anything about any tack or the saddle, and she knows so much more than I do, and she's willing to educate me. And before coming on here, I called her, specifically to ask about the Mattis pads, because beautiful.
Yeah.
Like they're beautiful and I love them, and I don't think about it, like, but actually what is something specific to that? What does that mean, right? What
Yeah.
are the words behind that? And she's so funny, and oh, Sharon, and she's like that because horses on landing from jumps, their shoulder has to come up to hit the saddle, so the Mattis pad really helps the saddle float above that to help the horse's shoulder. And I was like, see, brilliant, right? Like
Yeah.
brilliant. I
That's
know that
perfect.
feeling because my
Yeah.
horses jump well. But
Hmm.
there's there's the information, right? And that's information I don't have to worry about, except I know it's there if I want
Right.
it.
Right.
So,
Right. Yeah, and that's the thing is World Equestrian Brands, they don't do a lot of the flashy, trendy, news type of products that are constantly coming out. They very consistent with the quality, and they really believe that something works really well and has scientific backing, and it's proven to work well. So one of the great things that World Equestrian Brands is doing this week, they have a virtual Kentucky store. You can save 30% off of almost everything in the store. So there's a lot of really great deals to be had. You can get your horse and yourself all ready and customized and tailored for the show season whenever that happens again. So Sharon, I know it's Kentucky week. I would be remiss if I didn't ask you for your favorite Kentucky story. Do you have something for me?
Oh, I've got a lot of Kentucky stories.
Okay, well, how about what's your
My
proudest
favorite,
Kentucky memory, or do you have one that you just want to share?
I have a few. I would say Cooley on show in 2018, where I placed the highest that I've ever placed. That was pretty special to me, because Kentucky has been a nemesis for me. I've gotten there lots, but I haven't always performed my best there. So that was Cooley on show. And then I remember one year with Wonder Mask, I had ridden two horses and I'd fallen off Rafferty's rules, and then Wonder Mask, I'm get on course galloping to the fence 8, and he naps back to the barn towards with me, and I was just got so frustrated. I was like, for God. And it like napped, almost got caught in the ropes, and then he ended up cleaning the time
Oh
because
my gosh.
because I got so mad. I was like, for goodness sake, right? You've got to be kidding me. And that was such an interesting moment to me, because that was the beginning of my realizing that horses go the way they're ridden, right? And if you are not 100% focused and committed, if you are thinking weird things in your mind, right, then they know that. So they're going to let you know. And you can go from almost being caught in the ropes and napping back to the barn to going cleaning in the time, just
Yeah.
from a mental pitch of, get it together, right? So
Yeah.
it is always a wonderful memory for me, because it taught me so much.
Yeah. Well, this is a good time for a trivia question. For anybody watching, we are giving away a leather care package from World Equestrian Brands. It's got some really great products to take great care of hopefully your World Equestrian Brands equipment. We are giving that away to one user or one viewer every day. So our first trivia question for today is, what was the first horse that Sharon took to Kentucky? So comment on the video and tell us your answer, and you'll be entered to win. Really quick, Sharon, I do have a question from a viewer for you. So this is from TJ. Sharon, do you have any advice for a professional who's opening their own facility and starting their business?
Absolutely. Go for it, right? Like, absolutely go for it, right? And, love every minute of it, right? It's a lot of work, right? It's a lot of work, and it's also super rewarding. No, I think it's really important to know that there are equal numbers, good times and hard times. So when everything is great, love it, but it also, when everything is going bad, it doesn't mean that everything is bad, right? Like, it just I think to remember that to be able to spend your day with horses is pretty special in itself, right? And so TJ, go for it. You're going to be awesome.
That's fantastic. Really quick, I know I'm jumping around a little bit here, but it keeps it interesting. I want to go back to World Equestrian Brands real quick before we kind of wrap up the show. I want to talk about, if you want to pick maybe your favorite product that you've got from World Equestrian Brands, and maybe why it's so important to the success of your program. Do you have something in mind that would be a good example of that?
Sally, there's actually too many.
I know. Way to put you on the spot, right?
There are just too many things I count on. Like, the details are fantastic, right? So that you just can't go wrong with anything. So I could name any number of anything I use. It matters a lot to me. So
Let's talk a little bit
sorry.
about, no, I get it. It's hard to choose from a list of products, especially when they're all equally useful and great in your program. So let's talk a little bit about cross-country boots and specifically. I know some people might have some questions about fitting cross-country boots and that sort of thing, but I want to talk specifically about how you choose boots because everybody has their own school of thought on leg protection. So let's hear a little about yours.
Okay, so I think cross-country boots, it's really important that they provide a lot of protection, but are light. And the equilibrium boots are so fabulous for that.
Very
Like
light.
they're so light, it's unreal, right? And you know, if you're an athlete and performing, you do not want to be weighted down by things, right? So I think it's really important that the cross country boot is light enough and certainly doesn't hold water, which the equilibrium boots don't at all. Like they're really quite amazing, and they're quite amazing with how much protection they give, right? And for being so light. And if you've ever had a boot rub from a cross
Oh,
country boot, a
yep.
common problem, you need the equilibrium boot because you don't get boot rubs, and you know a boot rub will be a dream crusher, right?
Absolutely.
So that's love those boots. They're light, they don't hold water, they're so easy to put on, like you can't go wrong. And
No.
you know, too many straps and stuff like that,
Oh,
right?
I
And
know.
it's
Yeah.
so yeah, so they're just so easy. And you know, complexity you know, is never a good thing. It's the
Yep.
enemy of execution, right?
Absolutely.
So that's a big thing about World Equestrian Brands. It's nothing is complicated. Like
Sure.
it's all so clear, right?
Mhm.
It's simple, it's clear, it's not complicated. There's a reason for everything, and it's not a it's not a it's not a it's there's a good reason for everything. It's not
Sure.
just a bunch of stuff that doesn't matter, right? And there's so much marketing in the world, and there's so much BS in the world, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree with
We
you.
don't like that, right? So I
Yeah.
like my products to be clear and to work and to be
Yep.
simple.
Yep.
So, and I really find that with World Equestrian Bands. So like those cross country bits are a perfect example of that. But you could
Yep.
name me any, I would say, well, applies.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and especially when you're a professional, there's, things just have to work. It's plain and simple. They can't break, they can't wear out too quickly. They have to work. You guys put equipment through a lot of paces. So that's at the end of the day, it needs to work and it needs to hold up. And those are two things that World Equestrian Brands absolutely does. All right, so we're going to wrap up here pretty quick. I don't want to take up too much of your time here, Sharon. But I just want to ask you a couple more questions that are a little bit more Kentucky focused. So I want you to tell me a little bit about how you feel when you're in that start box. I think that's something that all of us who are less brave than you have always wondered is what's going through your mind when you're in that start box and you're getting counted down to go out on the cross country.
Well, I've had lots of things go through my mind. So I do try and remember that, you know, you always feel like until you actually start, you always feel, you know, like, what are you doing? Right. So, and I remind myself that I feel that all the, you feel like that. So don't worry about it, Sharon. Right.
Yeah.
You know, like, I have to remember that it's just patterns, right?
Mhm.
You know, once you get going, I've had, you know, usually hopefully you can focus on your job, right? Like that's all you're doing is focusing on your job. And
Mhm.
I've had to learn to do that, right? Because I can think about weird things, right? So to just really on giving your horse the best possible, you know, they all like you get to that point and they're good at their jobs, right?
Mhm.
So most of the fear is just fear of making a mistake, right? And that is just fear, and that's it's a very common normal fear, but you also have to get over that, right? You're there to do a job,
Yep.
right? Like
Yep.
so just go, right? And that's all it is, right? It's, you know, 12 minutes of just go do your job, right?
Yep.
So 12
It sounds so
minutes is
simple.
actually all to
Yeah.
focus on that, right? But
Yeah.
you can do it.
Yeah. Absolutely. And what would you say to somebody who's an aspiring five-star rider? Maybe they missed out on their first Kentucky this year, or something else happened. What's your word of encouragement to them?
There will be another one. So that like it don't like it is what it is. Don't obsess on it, right? Just keep doing what you were doing to get qualified in the first place, right? Like there are
Mhm.
many listeners, not many, right? But there were, I know some, right, who were really excited about their first Kentucky, right?
Yeah.
And there's going to be another one, right? It's going to be okay, right? So just keep working on what you were doing to get there in the first place, and know that it will, it'll come again, right? So you don't even like, it is what it is. Can't change it. So to stop thinking about it and focus on, keep doing what you're doing to get there, right?
Yeah. This too shall pass, hopefully. All right, Sharon. Well, thank you so much for all your time today. I really appreciate it. Sorry, I think that the connection just got a little sketchy there, but we made it. We did it. Again, apologize to everybody viewing for the technical difficulties. We got 3 more chances this week for Facebook Lives coming up, so we'll get it right one of these times. Be sure to tune in tomorrow at 4 p.m. with Buck Davidson, and then on Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern with Wood Fulton. We'll wrap up our World Reviews then. Well, Sharon, thank you so much for all your time, and good luck with the rest of your year, and hopefully we'll see you out whenever this gets started again.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sally.
Thank you.